Okay, fun fact. I haven't been to a doctor since 2019, so a couple of months before the pandemic. And I've been meaning to get a checkup. You know, when you're 50, turning 52, you gotta make sure everything's okay. I want to get a colonoscopy, but I think I can get away with having the poop test, basically. So, wish me luck, and hopefully they don't find anything wrong with me. I feel fine. I just wanted to get an appointment. All right. See you in a bit. Well, that was easy. One of my concerns is getting a colonoscopy, and I decided the physician's assistant was really good at explaining the difference between Cologuard and a colonoscopy. And given my schedule right now, the window of time I had to do a colonoscopy was when I got back from Ninja Warrior and before I started really training hard for the national championships and the world championships. So I think what I'm going to do is get the Cologuard, get that done, and see if there's anything that pops up or polyps up, no pun intended. And then if any alarm bells go off, I'll get the colonoscopy. I honestly would like to do the colonoscopy just so I can know for sure that I'm all clean through, and all of that, anything that's in there gets caught. Yeah, that's probably too much information. But otherwise, I'm gonna run back here tomorrow morning just to get my blood work done. I forgot you had to fast. And yeah, otherwise my blood work was good. He actually had the best explanation to cholesterol numbers, and I knew this, but the way he explained it was good. Is that I have both high HDL and LDL, but my good cholesterol is really high, and normally when a doctor just focuses on the bad cholesterol, and they freak out, or the nurse freaks out on my blood work numbers, then they look down. It's like, oh, whew. But he explained the good cholesterol helps root out or scavenge the bad cholesterol. So mine's like 75. Anyway, yeah, in good health, thank God. No bumps, no concerns, but probably again too much information, but all good news. Stay safe and stay healthy. It's been a while since I've done that. It's the ski erg. It's made by Concept 2. It's basically a rower turned on its side. Someone asked me today about exercises for your posterior chain. And so what your posterior chain is let me see if I could set this down. It's basically your back. Oops. Hello. It's basically your backside. Posterior chain. So it's all the muscles in your lower back, well, this part of your back, lower back, tops of your glutes, all the way down. And the problem is most people work on those dominant muscle groups, like the quads and the and your other parts of your body. I'm sorry, I can't think. The larger muscle groups, the shoulders and everything else. But they tend to neglect the backside. They have to go for the muscles in the front, the sexy muscles in the front, and they neglect the ones on the backsides, and you get muscle imbalances. And I made a video a few days ago about how important movement is, and mobility versus overall strength, because at a certain point you got too much strength and not enough mobility, and what's the point? And this is very, very common for older people. Well, I wouldn't say it's common because most older people don't have much strength, but it happens when you strength train a lot. You forget and neglect to work on the mobility aspect. Anyway, so one of the things I do for the posterior chain was what I showed last night is the Nordic curl, which is, again, the most brutal leg exercise you can do. But there's other parts of the other ways you can work on the hamstrings that are it's really handy. So one of the things I bought, actually, like after COVID started, which I was surprised I was even able to get. It's probably one of the last people to get one, and it's made by Titan Fitness, and it's a hamstring roller. And let me see if I can show it. I love this thing. And what it is just a giant, heavy, flat, well, I wouldn't say flat, platform that you put your heels on, and you basically do hamstring curls laying on your back. And I'll show this in a second. So, but the thing is I liked this thing. I liked it a lot. But the problem is it's on 4 wheels that only go one direction, forwards and back, and it tends to go slightly sideways, and it can't correct itself. So you gotta, after every rep, you kind of gotta center it. Not a big deal. But what I discovered is an easier way of doing it is when I upgraded my furniture sliders to these skills, these higher end skills ones. These are like $30, and I was using some cheap Harbor Freight ones that were fine. But they were designed to move furniture and kind of get the crap beat out of them. And there wasn't that much surface area on them. These have more surface area. They're smoother, so they glide more. But I'll demonstrate what I do with the hamstring roller, if you can see it. And this is a great exercise if you go slow on the eccentric, on the coming back part, rather than going fast the entire way. So I need to put shoes on for this, because the other downside of using this hamstring roller is you rest your heels on this V cup, and when you do that, if you don't have shoes on, it'll tear up your heel. So I'll try actually without shoes on. Actually, that's not so bad. So what you do is you raise your butt up. I do with one leg to make it harder. Out, slowly in, out, slowly in, and then I kind of straighten it out with my hands. Works out your hamstrings really well, but the same thing can be accomplished with these furniture sliders or carpet sliders. It's actually a little bit more smoother, and it can go all around, and it doesn't really you can self-correct your direction. So 1, 2, you get the point. I need to find another use for that hamstring roller. Oh, actually, another good use for the hamstring roller is when you do split squats. So you could do the same thing with this. So I'll try with split squats. What's easier? Honestly, I think the carpet sliders are going to win. All right, let me finish my workout before dinner. Oh, one last thing. What I forgot to mention is that hamstring curl really works out your hamstrings a lot, especially if you do it single leg, if you progress into doing it single leg. And it also works out your glutes, the top of your glute, and your lower back from stabilizing everything. So that's a really good exercise. And it works out your calf too, because you're having to extend and retract on that heel. So, but you definitely feel it in your hamstrings, to the point where they're probably going to be cramped up the next day if you haven't done this in a while or at all. Workout will continue. So what I forgot to mention, the reason why I thought of the posterior chain stuff was that the ski erg actually is very, very good with the posterior chain. It really works out. For supposedly not using your legs, it works out a lot on your lower back and your glutes, because you have to stabilize yourself, and your calves, because you got to raise yourself and then come down. And of all the muscle groups that really are sore after doing this is actually my lower back, because I really got to watch it. And the other part is your triceps turn to absolute jello. And my tricep work over the last year or so has really helped with that. But I finished up my hamstring glider, carpet slider, glider, curls, and I had to say, these carpet sliders are a great thing to have in a home gym, or in your house, your apartment, your wherever. You can do so many cool things with this, and they weigh nothing, and yeah, they're awesome. It worked out great for that. So if anyone wants to buy a metal hamstring glider, let me know. Well, like I said, I'm going to test these with split squats and see how it works. I think it would actually be better because, again, the glider tends to want to, even though it has wheels that go one direction, it tends to want to cock one way and then not want to go back to where it was before. So speaking of split squats, I'm going to do split squats, but I'm going to do it on the K-box right now. Be back in a little bit.
2, 3, 4, 5, done.
Oof. Okay. So these are split squats. Elevated front heel, supported on the K-box. And this is crooked. I used to do squats all the time, trying to man up and not do them supported, but you can get a lot more power if you have a little bit of lateral support. The thing with the flywheel trainer is when you max out that eccentric overload, it's a lot of force. And this is the thing when people watch me doing, it's like, oh, well, that little plate, it can't weigh very much if it's just spinning. It produces a tremendous amount of force. Pounds, wattage, whatever you want to call it, a lot of force. So much so that the squat is the toughest of all of those exercises on there, because it literally feels like it's going to pull you through the ground. There is nothing like the terror when you first do a squat with a bit of eccentric overload in it. I can pretty much guarantee everyone that's done it has freaked out. Yeah, there's nothing like it. So it's just funny when I highlight the K-box or the K-pulley, I know no one understands what it's like to use that until they've actually used it. And it's a great tool. I credit all my strength gains to using it. More importantly, what I credit the K-box, in K-box particular, because it's so much, I do so much high intensity stuff on it, is that I've been injury free, and that is it's priceless, absolutely priceless. When I was lifting weights, I was at the limit, 2.75 times my body weight. That's when stuff starts to really break down, if your form slips up at all, and it's just not worth it. Where with the flywheel training, I feel like I can push myself per rep safely. If I don't feel like a rock star, I can back it off and my ego's in place, I feel fine, and I move on, as opposed to trying to muscle up, let's say 350 pounds when I really don't feel like it and really can't do it, but I try to do it, and then you find out the hard way, click, you just tweak something and you're out for weeks. Anyway, gonna finish up my reps here and then get some dinner. Be back in a little bit. Warm up. 143. Gotta write this stuff down. Plyometrics, years ago would have said, you don't need to do it. I got other things to worry about. And I would say that's true. I had to build my strength up when I was getting into track cycling. Before I could unleash it. But I really believe plyometrics. It's just one of these things, just like a lot of things. If you don't work on it, you don't build it. I love the broad jump. I think it's the best safe metric measurement way of measuring explosive power, because there's almost, short of you rolling an ankle, there's no risk of injury. Like, oh my God, there's so many injuries that are associated with box jumps. Go into any gym and see the bashed up shins. It's almost invariably from box jumps. But the granularity that you can measure broad jumps, you can literally measure it down to a millimeter if you're that anal. Man, you can't do that with a box. You can't do it with a box jump. And so what I just did there was the single leg double jump, and that is the Mac Daddy of the broad jump, because it puts so much stress and power, so much stress on your ankle, and requires so much power out of your ankle to do that. They say 3 to 4 times your body weight. Your body absorbs 3 to 4 times your body weight when you jump up and down. That's with 2 feet. Can you imagine what it does? You know, that much force on one leg, one ankle. So I love that. You know, the first time I did it in a long time was a couple days ago, and I felt amazingly good. But man, I remember it was not too long ago when I started doing these, what felt like your leg, your ankle felt like it was going to snap off. So love these things, but I don't recommend the single legs for most people because it's freaky. Those last 2 sets of jumps felt great because of the timing. It's the leap, obviously the first leap, you gotta put a lot of power, but it's actually it's the first time they actually come down. The timing of snapping off to get that last little bit, those felt really, really, really good, shockingly good. So I doubt I can reproduce that magic, but I did it. And that is 154 and a half. Wow, that was pretty cool. And I'll keep it going. And I beat that. You saw it, 155. Gotta write that down. So the I call these the isometric ankle rocker jumps, because you start from an isometric contraction and you snap off with your ankles. Your ankles are the delivery mechanism for all the power for anything that's foot-based, any sport that's foot-based. Yeah, I think it's one of the most neglected parts of the chain. The TID bar helps with that. These ankle rocker jumps help with that. Jumping helps with that. On a bicycle, this is where this is the connection point. It's not so much your foot, it's your ankle. And if you can't fire that off, you're wasting your time. So the ankle rocker jumps down, fire up. So I've been using the cage roller to not rehab now, since my shoulder feels good, but to maintain the strength in my shoulder. Because that's the most stressed part, doing this ninja stuff. Kind of angle raises with them to work on the front deltoid, because I'm actually finding out I'm working out my rear deltoids quite a bit. Tricep push downs on this, brutal. So back to that thing about the shoulders, is I was having these massive shoulder pains last year during track season. It was like this deeply embedded pain in the front of my deltoid. And what I found, working on mobility, but this is the only stretch that fixed the problem. And what I suspect the problem is I knew there was an imbalance. What I didn't realize was the imbalance was having overdeveloped rear deltoids, not front deltoids like most people have. Because most people bench press, they do all the bro stuff. I don't do that. I haven't bench pressed in a long time, other than, I haven't bench pressed with a weight a couple of years now. So I don't have like these front deltoid problems. And so it finally dawned on me after actually watching videos of me doing those tricep press downs or push downs, is that my rear deltoids are very, very developed. And when I thought about it, when I'm pulling up on the handlebar, you can actually feel that muscle get engaged like right here. That's the rear deltoid. And so what I suspect was happening was that muscle's getting really big and tight, and it's actually pulling, kind of like tearing the front of my front deltoid. And so by stretching this, I'm stretching this muscle out here, which is used to being contracted all the time, well, contracted hard. It's counterintuitive. It solved the pain in the front of the shoulder. So what happens at night, like I'll sleep on my side and I'll wake up in the middle of the night. It's not nearly as bad as before, but when I finally figured this out, I would just wake up in the middle of the night, still lay down, and just kind of stretch it, and go back to bed. Pain goes away. Yeah, it was just the weirdest thing, and it's still to now it works. So now I'm actually trying to work on my front deltoids, ironically, to try to counteract that imbalance of this pulling it backwards. Anyway, too much information, I'm sure. So here's the other thing, just about that discovery, figuring out what was going on. If you're attuned to your body, I don't want to sound too zen like this, but if you have a better understanding of what your body's doing, you have a better chance of stemming off problems, or at least trying to fix them. And a lot of the times it's taking a step back so you can move forward. And the shoulder pain, definitely. Yeah, and then before that, it was the 2017 season. Did the World Championships. And,
I didn't get that. Could you?
Did the World Championships with hardcore tendonitis, really bad. And my job was to be the starter, and I had to pull the handlebars, and I could get through it. It's a few seconds of pain, but man, it was really, really bad. And went into the fall, and after that, and tried to rehab it. And it took me, for several months to try to figure out what was going on. And it was actually my therapy with this twisting. I can go over that later. But again, what my point is to understand what your body's doing in trying to find the imbalance and balance it out. That's a big part of this whole thing, is staying fit, staying injury free, staying mobile, not getting too strong, ironically. Yeah, all right. A couple more exercises and I'm done. I actually feel better. I'm trying to go for 40 again. 3 sets. 3 sets of 1. Times 40 seconds. Yeah, that's I had this goal last night after I hit 40 3 times to work up to a minute total, which will be pretty tough. That's a good goal. You gotta set goals, right? So I'm gonna go and finish up 2 more of these after a 3-minute rest, and then go to bed. Oh, I'm gonna fast tonight and get my blood work done. Couldn't do it today because I didn't fast. So I'll go first thing in the morning, have some coffee, don't eat, have 6 vials or whatever they take out of me just to run normal blood work, and then hopefully have some good news. Anyway, thanks for watching, and talk to you guys tomorrow.